welcome back, everyone. I'm Kerry Siggins, CEO of StoneAge and host of In the Kitchen, Conversations on IoT with Breadware. And today I have Elizabeth Redmond with me. She's the CEO of CoWorkr, which is like a tech company based in Reno, and she's going to tell us all about it. Welcome to the show today, Elizabeth.
Thanks, Kerry. Good to see you.
You too. All right, so please tell us who you are and what CoWorkr does.
I am Elizabeth Redmond, CEO and co-founder of CoWorkr. We are a workplace analytics company. So we are IoT hardware and software business that puts sensors around offices, all collecting anonymous data on how people are using spaces. So we contribute to two facets of the business. One on the experience side for workplace experience and helping people find currently available spaces, as well as on the real estate side, helping them plan for future changes and plan for their needs in the corporate real estate.
Yeah. And so why did you found CoWorkr?
Well, as many stories go, it's kind of a circuitous route to get where we are today. But we were working with a client who basically exposed us to the need for a product in this environment. And at the time, there was maybe one other company deploying sensors in corporate office space. And they said, there's a huge demand for occupancy data. Really, architecture firms were going through with clipboards and recording, how many workstations were occupied in the course of an hour. And it was a very manual process for capturing data. And we decided that we could build a product to address that issue.
All right, so tell us how IoT is used to better understand people movement in a workspace.
So one of the things that we like to talk about is in that traditional approach with the clipboard and the manual observation studies, it's very hard to see or observe with the naked eye what's going on at any given point in time. And so one really interesting application of sensors in IoT is when used at scale, you have multiple thousands of devices. You can capture a snapshot of what's happening at any point in time. When it comes to this element of live utilization data, we're solving a problem in a brand new way of saying we have live occupancy information on every single hotel desk or unassigned desk that can be available for anyone to use at any point in time. Similar with other spaces like phone booths, conference rooms. So if somebody's sitting at their desk and saying, I need a conference room right now, they can very easily search for that as opposed to having to walk around and look for an available space.
Yeah, I can imagine that it helps make businesses so much more effective and efficient.
Yeah, and there's an interesting rule in real estate that's used often called the 330-300 rule, where every $3 spent on utilities, there's $30 spent on real estate and $300 spent on employees. And so productivity is definitely a huge element that our customers are seeking to recapture some costs on. So if they can save their employees some time in the day, that's a huge element of their cost structure and ROI analysis. And same with real estate. So if we go in for a study and they determine that they're really only using about 60% of their assets and their real estate, they can very easily tie that back to the cost of their idle assets and maybe reconfigure to use less real estate.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so how does your product relate to return to work plans? It's what everybody's talking about. So is this a solution that leaders can use to plan their workspaces as they're figuring out what this new normal is going to look like?
Absolutely. There's been a huge disruption in our space, and the reasons that customers are coming to us are changing. And one of those is clients are basically saying, we've reconfigured our entire workplace. we don't have assigned desks anymore. We need live occupancy data so people can find them when they show up to the office. That is a major use case that we've really kind of been building towards since we founded the company. And now that's all highly relevant in 2021. The other use case is, which is something kind of more subtle and unexpected, but from a facility services and janitorial services line of work, we're able to create information on what has been used that day and when it has been addressed or when that space has been cleaned. So there's a feedback loop we can create and transparency around, has this conference room been cleaned since its last use? Or can we save a significant amount on our janitorial services by using daily occupancy data to drive those services?
Yeah, makes sense. So what other ways do you think IoT will disrupt the way we think about our workspace and workspace planning in the future?
I think there was an initial wave of LEED certification, which allowed us to create more responsible spaces, basically. There's a new wave that kind of started becoming more popular in the last 5 years. That's the WELL certification and the application of healthy spaces. And so I think there's a lot of technology we'll start seeing that address how to make your environments healthier, and healthier by way of not using chemicals, not spraying chemicals across the entire office every single day. And there's so many elements that go into this, of lighting, HVAC, air filtration, biophilia, which is, how many, do you have any live aerobic plants in the environment that are helping to exchange the air? And I think that there are technologies that will address this from an IoT perspective, and then also be responsible for monitoring it and making the spaces more efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the hardest thing about developing IoT products in this space?
IoT products in general are quite complex. It's not necessarily a known issue, but when you're dealing with IoT, you have so many more facets of your business. You have the hardware component, the networking component, and the software component, and the maintenance over time. You're not just selling an inanimate object that is going to be used and maybe depreciate over time, but similar to your cell phone that has to operate for the course of its life. So we definitely take that challenge on head first. It's an interesting time right now as well with COVID. There's international and global supply chain tension around all components, and everyone in the field is very familiar with how sourcing is becoming more challenging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to share on the challenges?
I like a good, healthy challenge like that. And so we have always kind of talked about our product differently of, ultimately we're a data company because what is valuable to our customers is the data. But you have to create the hardware and you have to capture the data to get to that end goal. And that's where really the big challenges are, but the challenges are hidden.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And finally, what's the best piece of advice you have for leaders and entrepreneurs who are creating IoT devices?
Well, there's a quote that I always keep in any notebook of mine that I'm using. And I believe I found this just on a blog that I was reading. I occasionally Google this quote because I try to find the origin of it, and all I come back to is a blog post from 2009. And the quote is, insane perseverance in the face of complete resistance. And so I just think that's like the true grit of entrepreneurship is you just have to have insane perseverance. And particularly when you're dealing with an even more challenging product like something in IoT. And you have to approach every facet of the product with that insane perseverance and know that you're doing something challenging and you're doing something that not everyone is going to go out and build because it is inherently more challenging.
Yeah, that's a great quote. If you ever find out who said it, let me know because I'm going to steal it from you.
I will. I'll send you the blog post anyway.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I'd appreciate that. All right, Elizabeth. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate having you, and good luck with your product. We're glad to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kerry.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.